It's 4 p.m. We're bringing developing news.
And the stories behind the headlines. This is Storycon. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Ed Lingao. The headline of this hour, VP Sara Duterte declaring her bid for the presidency in 2028. She announced this amid impeachment complaints pending against her at the House of Representatives. Also comes days before her father's confirmation of charges hearing at the International Criminal Court.
I cannot kneel before each and every Filipino to beg for forgiveness. Instead, I offer my life, my strength, and my future in the service of our nation. Mga kababayan, ibalik natin ang tapang at malasakit para sa Diyos, sa bayan, at para sa bawat pamilyang Pilipino. Ako si Sara Duterte. Tatakbo bilang Pangulo ng Pilipinas. Syukran.
For over a year, Duterte has been floating, then taking back her plans for 2028. In her media briefing earlier today, she also rebuked her estranged 2022 running mate, President Bongbong Marcos, and how he has supposedly bungled national issues. Duterte did not take questions from reporters after the 2028 run announcement.
Malacanang and several lawmakers have reacted to Vice President Duterte's 2028 presidential bid announcement. In a statement, Senator Amy Marcos praised the Vice President's decision. She said Duterte is the leader with solutions for the nation's direction and challenges. ACT Teachers Party List Representative Antonio Tino, on the other hand, said Duterte's announcement was meant to intimidate lawmakers who plan to support her impeachment. He also warned against falling for political gimmicks. Meantime, President Bongbong Marcos Jr. has only one message for Duterte, according to Palace Press Officer Claire Castro.
Malinaw na kalkulado yung timing ng announcement bago isa lang at lumarga yung impeachment complaint laban sa kanya sa Kongreso. No, siguro tingin niya matatakot niya, masisindak niya ang mga kongresista dahil patakbo siyang presidente, pero makikita natin na dahil napakatibay ng batayan sa kanyang impeachment, hindi ubra yung ganyang mga gimmick at malalantad muli, no, ang kabulukan sa ginawa niya sa confidential funds.
Nadinig niya po. At sabi niya po, good luck. Yun lamang po. At nadinig niya po ang mga sinabi na pinagsisisihan at humihingi ng patawaran itong sa Vice Presidente.
And the other stories we're watching this Wednesday, February 18. Senator Bamakino says he will have another statement within the day to clarify an earlier stance that has gone viral. He earlier said that cases involving alleged extrajudicial killings during the Duterte administration should be, and we quote, ideally tried in Philippine courts, not at the ICC. The remark comes after the ICC named Senators Bato de la Rosa and Bongo as alleged co-perpetrators in the Crimes Against Humanity case of former President Duterte.
It remains unclear, though, if former President Duterte will physically appear at his confirmation of charges hearing next week. Defense lawyer Nicholas Kaufman said the public will have to wait until hearings open on February 23. These proceedings will determine if Duterte will go on to trial. Kaufman added that the ICC deputy prosecutor has declined his offer to hold talks regarding the case, but maintained that his door remains open for discussion. And meanwhile, the office of the prosecutor at the ICC stressed that the proper forum for legal arguments and submissions is the court. The prosecutor's office added that it is conducting its work independently under the Rome Statute and cannot comment on matters involving ongoing investigations. The Armed Forces of the Philippines says it monitored 2 People's Liberation Army Navy warships in the vicinity of Bajo de Masinloc. That was during the conduct of a multilateral maritime cooperative activity, or MMCA, with the United States Navy, the Royal Australian Navy, and the Philippine Coast Guard. The AFP stressed that the presence of the Chinese warships inside the Philippine Exclusive Economic Zone is illegal.
And joining us today from the Philippine Star, ang bossing ng mga star, si Ami Pamintuan.
At ang tagal ng post mo. Hello everybody, happy
Akala ko may
Wednesday.
zoom, may gagawin pang sound effects eh. Wala
Suspense daw, Ami, suspense. Ang bossing ng mga star.
Oo nga eh.
Pause. Pregnant pause.
Oo nga eh, may pregnant pause.
Ano ba yan? Quiet day, no?
Nagulat ba kayo?
Yes.
Maaga.
Maaga.
Hindi nakakagulat yung announcement, nakakagulat yung timing. Bakit ngayon?
Yes.
Maaga.
Last night,
Yes.
may story pa sa
Hindi
sa
naman
newscast.
nakakagulat, nakakapagtaka lang.
Oo. Kasi last night, may
Because
story pa sa
everybody's
newscast na
expecting
she will probably announce daw December pa.
Hindi naman will
Eh, wala
announce,
pang
but
ano eh.
she will decide by by the end of the year,
O,
this year.
Di mas later pa yun.
Iba naman yung nag-decide sa nag-announce. Baka naman she decided early on.
Eh di mas later pa nga yun kung
Oh, yes,
mag-decide
sabagay.
pa lang siya ng December.
True.
December down to next year na yun.
True. So that is the big question surrounding this announcement, no? The very big
Lagay
question.
ko tama yung reaction ni Congressman Tino ron. May epekto yun dun sa impeachment. Saka lahat kayo nang i-heard na charges sa kanya. Sasabihin, politiko lang yan.
Oo, kasi
Which is
tatakbo.
actually true, pero nung ngayon, yun ang sagot doon eh. Nung ngayon kung politiko.
Everything now
Diba?
is framed by that announcement.
Pero, yun ang nga sabi ko, wala naman dito hindi politicized na issue, di ba? Politiko siya eh.
Kahit kay ekonomiya, di ba?
Hindi ba? I mean, kahit sabihin mo you have to still answer the criminal complaints. Kung hindi, hindi na sasabihin nila bato, nila pamumulitika lang yan. You have to face the charges against you.
But I mean, even last year, that's already what she was saying, what her team was saying, right?
Ako hindi ako surprised.
Pinipolitika lang siya. But to this day, we still don't have clarity on those confidential funds and what happened to them.
Yan na nga. Kaya nga, she still has to explain it.
She hasn't explained
In
it.
whatever venue ang malumusot dyan.
So para sa'yo, yung timing lang yung questionable here.
Say rin naman eh. That's also what you said.
Well, I also am wondering about the manner of the delivery. Kasi parang nag-iba eh. It seems she's projecting something else, which is confidence and, calmness.
Presidential na siya.
Oo.
Not like November 2024
Or any of those other
Galit siya
times.
nun
when she was agitated and
Or any
during the live.
and threatening
that
making
was November
threats.
2024.
Oh. And
Galit siya nun,
the
galit siya
demeanor
nun.
is very different. It struck me as very different. So
And apologizing to the public for, of course, it's part of it's
Ilang
part of projection.
ilang beses na siya nag-apologize
Pero
sa
yung-
public
pero yung framing
for
is-
supporting the president.
but yung framing seems to be we have lost our way and I am the alternative. I will get us back on track. Parang ganon. Yung messaging is not attacking, not hitting out at her political enemies, pero more of, okay,
Opening remark niya, banat kay Bongbong eh.
Nag-apologize
In a
ka for
in a very-
Hindi pa babanat yun. Parang, sorry ha.
Opening
I
remark
brought
niya,
this up
puro
to you.
banat kay
sorry
Bongbong.
I just need to get this out of the way. Wala na kasi iba. You're in power kasi. Pero yun.
Baka sabihin kasi that yung issue, yung video niya against Marcos, yung assassination, tinatawag siyang Chucky eh. Kaya ganyan. Nagre-remake ng nagre-remake ng image. Di ba? Yun ang mga kalaban niya, yun ang sabi sa kanya. Yung video niya, Chucky daw siya, Chucky.
Chucky.
Di nyo kilala si Chucky.
Kilala namin si Chucky ko naman, no?
Ah.
Ito si Ami, panahon natin yan. Baka yung iba hindi alam kung sino si Chucky. Kasi hindi na uso si
Meron
Chucky
siyang ganyang
masyado.
meron siyang ganyang previous before the video on the assassination. Meron siyang press ko na ganyan siya ka-poised. Na yun na nga sabi ko, she was fully in control doon sa sinasabi niya. Hindi ko maalala kung ano yung issue na yun eh. Malaki ding issue yun eh. Na
But-
napansin ko
yeah.
na wow, talagang ano siya.
But this one
Ganyan
kasi...
siya ganyan siya ka-control.
This one is a prepared statement eh. She didn't even field questions eh.
Mas maano nga yun noon, hindi, it wasn't even a prepared statement yung isa niyang ano. Natatandaan ko yun kasi napuna ko na ano yung nga yun, na kapag gusto niya, she can be that controlled in her persona.
Oo. In a way, parang si Duterte, if he sticks to the prepared statement, then his...
Her father, you mean?
Sorry, the father.
but-
Hindi bagay eh.
But if
the
he sticks to
father
the
cannot
prepared
stick
statement,
to
parang...
a prepared statement.
Speech writer gumawa niyan.
He tries, but he can never
But when
stick to it.
But sometimes
He
he
could
does.
not.
Sometimes when he's bored out of his wits, na parang I have
Pag
to just do
nagmamadali
this.
Sige,
lang.
basahin ko na lang.
Let's get it over and done with. Pero once he goes gets steps away from the prepared statement, then it becomes more colorful.
But actually, that made him formidable. Ha? Yun yung masapil niya. Yun yung masapil niya.
Yun ang hinihintay ng mga tao eh.
dating.
Kasi the prepared statement is often prepared by somebody else.
Sinasabi niya lagi, tinatapon niya nga ako minsan
Oo.
yung speech physically eh.
yeah.
Sabi niya, tama na nga to. Magsasalita na ako nung ano ko. Di ba? Kita mo, namimiss niyo namimiss niyo.
Tsaka yung talk to the people.
Namimiss ni Ed. Yung midnight press
Talk to
conference.
the people. Hindi press conference yun. No press conference lasts that long.
Sa bagay. He doesn't take questions eh. He
It's
just goes on
it's
and
a
on and on.
monologue or what
Diatribe.
What's the word that Miriam used to use for that? Soliloquy.
Soliloquies. His midnight
Hindi naman,
soliloquies.
meron siyang mga kasama lagi noon paggabi.
Oo, pero ano lang just to break the ice, parang, ikaw, what do you think? And then he throws it to somebody else. Otherwise, he talks and talks and talks. He lets his mind free.
Which
Kaya nga.
so
Stream
again,
of consciousness.
There you go. Streams of
stream of
consciousness.
Stream of
consciousness.
consciousness.
Yung tipong walang punctuation.
The timing
Kaya
is
nga.
also curious because, of course, in the days leading up to today, there has been criticism that there are some senators that are traditionally not allied with her that are being seen as softening their stance towards
I can see a segue coming in.
the Duterte. Hindi the segue is some people are now asking, may kinalaman ba to? Are these things connected? So for example, Senator Bam saying, ideally, EJK trials should have been held in the Philippines.
I-clarify daw niya yan later in the day.
Oo nga,
That's what everybody's waiting for.
Senator Risa and Senator Soto saying na, well, no, they can't be arrested whilst they're in Senate and while Senate is in session. And then, of course, we just spoke to Senator Lacson yesterday who said more or less the same thing, although they will talk about it. And he also believes kailangan dumaan sa domestic court, yung international arrest warrant, if it comes to that, right? So all of these things are being seen as a softening of a stance against the Dutertes, and I'm just there's also now questions being raised about whether or not these things are connected. Maybe
dapat
one person who can answer
manok
that
na
is our guest today. Let's bring in our first guest this afternoon. We're talking to political analyst and former spokesperson to Vice President Leni Robredo, Attorney Barry Gutierrez. Welcome back to Storycon, Attorney.
Hi, Attorney.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, sir. Sir,
Bakit tawan-tawa ka dyan,
Parati naman siya natawa.
sir, para klaro lang, sir, are you still spokesman of former VP Leni or but just so we get things down pat. Ano po?
No, as
hindi
far
na.
as I know, she doesn't have a spokesperson as mayor of Naga.
Just
So,
making
no.
sure. Okay, okay. But you're still with the teka.
Be careful how you frame it.
Akbayan? You're still with
The
Akbayan?
opposition?
Yeah, I'm a member of Akbayan. So, yeah.
Okay. No, okay. We're bringing you in as somebody who is very familiar with a lot of things from in the opposition.
Political campaigns as well.
And the campaign in 2022, among other things. Can I start or no? Sir, okay. We have a statement that even from before pa, I understand from you guys, from Senator Trillanes, na as early as the campaign of 2022, si Bam Aquino and si Leni daw already made it known to him that if they won or if they were to win, then they would not have Duterte be taken by the ICC, and he would have to stand trial here. I asked that kasi kahapon may statement si Senator Bam, which people are trying to interpret na ideally the trial should be held here for the EJK. Of course, may ganong qualifier, ideally. So, to begin with, sir, totoo ba yung 2022 supposed position ni Bam and Lenny on Duterte and the ICC?
Well, hindi na naman bago yung sinabi ni Senator Trillanes. He's raised that before. I've actually responded to that before. And ang sagot ko lang naman dyan is, he says it was a private conversation between the three of them. I was not there. To my knowledge, hindi yun ang posisyon ni VP Lenny, at least, in her conversations with her team sa OVP and with us in the campaign. I don't know ano ang posisyon ni Senator Bam Aquino personally. As far as I'm concerned, yung kanyang statement kahapon was something that took me by surprise, which I suppose was the reaction of a lot of
took
people.
a lot of people by surprise.
Yeah.
Pero at least that one's clear. As far as you're concerned, Lenny's position from 2022, at least from 2022, is if the ICC has an arrest warrant, then Duterte goes to The Hague.
Yes, yun ang kanyang aming mga conversations about it in our development of the platform that she would actually use for the 2022 elections. I remember very, very clearly that was her position. But as I said, si Senator Trillanes kasi is claiming that in a private conversation with Senator Bam, may sinabi sa kanyang iba. Well, I can't speak to that, obviously.
Okay. Kayo ba nagulat
Di
dun
ba,
sa...
wala bang nabanggit na, halimbawa, parang qualification lang na kung maaari sana, ideally, dito siya itatry. Wala bang ganon na nabanggit sa inyo si Vice President Lenny at that time?
Wala kasi very, very clear. Very, very clear sa amin nung panahon na yon that there were many attempts. Meron pa kang kaso dyan, ako mismo humawak I filed a case on behalf of one of the early victims ng EJK. And it went nowhere for years. And when VP Lenny assumed yung very, very briefly yung kanyang 19-day stint as co-chair of ICAD, yung Interagency Committee against illegal drugs, very, very clear yung naging feedback sa amin na wala talagang na-ifa-file na mga kaso. O kung meron mang na-ifa-file na mga kaso, walang pinupuntahan. So it was very, very clear in our minds that at least under the Duterte administration and possibly even after, mahihirapang magkaroon ng trial dito given many factors, including threats dun sa mga victims, intimidation, political pressure on the courts, and yung continued following and political base ng mga Duterte dito. So, ako very, very clear yun na sa amin. Kaya nga, binanggit ko kanina, nagulat ako dun sa statement ni Senator Bam because it seems so, paano nga sabihin, it seems so detached from yung actual lived experience ng mga tao who have actually attempted to file cases dito on the basis of yung crimes against humanity in the context of the drug war. So medyo nakakagulat lang na magkakaroon ka ng ganong klaseng medyo academic na statement when there is ample experience, ample proof to show na hindi ganon yung pinagdaanan ng mga madaming biktima dito. Hence, why they were eventually forced to go to the ICC to achieve justice for their loved ones na namatay sa drug war.
Pero politically, sa naririnig mo about Bam Aquino since the elections last year, are you surprised actually? Malaki ba yung sorpresa mo o hindi naman masyado?
Well, tingin ko, obviously dito, meron naman siyang effort to, I can't view it any other way, but an effort to supposedly reach out to yung base ng mga Duterte. Which I actually find strange, Dahil nagsabi siya noon,
Last year pa yan actually, hindi ba? Last year pa yan.
okay naman yun
Support
kung
of
siya yung,
Iglesias.
kung tatakbo siyang presidente, tapos iniisip niyang magiging, sana maaabot niya itong base
Common
na ito.
candidate.
Pero nagdeklara na si Sara Duterte kanina eh. And actually, yung
Kanina yan,
declaration na
yung
yun,
statement niya kahapon eh.
pero naku naman, para namang hindi natin alam tatakbo si Sara Duterte, di ba?
Yeah.
Para namang nagulat tayong lahat. Alam naman natin tatakbo si Sara Duterte. So,
Okay.
ano
Yeah,
yung
okay.
thinking? Makukuha niya yung boto from Sara?
Yeah.
So unless nag-audition siya maging vice president ni Sara Duterte, I don't think that it was a statement that was actually well thought out in terms of yung objective.
Okay, since you brought up the announcement today, so okay, obviously hindi kayo nagulat, attorney. But let's dissect it. I'm asking you now to look at it as a political analyst. Let's dissect
Sure.
her messaging in substance and form. What did you think of it?
Well, for a prepared statement and for such a short prepared statement, medyo nagulat ako na yung delivery niya medyo hesitant pa. Medyo nag-stumble pa siya over certain words. And you could see yung very clearly na nagbabasa, di ba? Yung magsasabi ng isang titigil and then tsaka magre-resume. I felt that for something that's supposed to be such a momentous event, di ba? You're finally formally declaring your intention to seek the highest office in the land. I expected a greater degree of emotion. I expected a greater degree of spontaneity. Medyo nakakagulat lang na para siyang yung statement niya dun sa Beijing sa parang anniversary ng Chinese People's Party or something. Parang binabasa at hesitant.
Attorney.
Nagulat ako.
Pero sir,
And I couldn't help but compare it. I couldn't help but compare it to yung naging announcement ni VP Lenny in 2021.
But maybe that was the message, right? That I can be controlled, I can be restrained, I can be calm, diba? As opposed to all her other previous public announcements or / press conferences.
You can appear to be calm and controlled without appearing sedated. And that's what she looked like para sa akin. The way she read the statement seemed somehow unnatural nga in its in the way it was delivered. So ako, and besides, 'di ba, when you're declaring for the presidency, you want to appear sure and strong as if this was something na talagang pinag-isipan mo ng matagal at ito ang aking naging konklusyon. So it seemed surprisingly weak for a declaration. At sabi ko nga kanina, bali ba hindi naman nakakagulat. Alam naman natin na papunta na dyan yan. Pero yun na nga if you're taking the opportunity to actually do a formal announcement of something that a lot of people have expected for a long time. Nobody has expected naman na hindi siya tutuloy. Parang medyo malamya ng konti yung ganong klaseng delivery.
Pero sir, if you look at the words that she chose, the words that she used, may framing talaga siyang kinukuha dito which is basically number one, she's trying to project herself as I suppose, somewhat reluctant to take on the immense sacrifice that this decision comes with. Kasi let me quote, "It took me 47 years to understand that my life was never meant to be only mine. Unlike others, I may not have been born just to chase happiness." So it's a projection of this is an immense sacrifice on my part, but
It's
I'm
a
doing
burden.
it
I
for
mean,
you.
the first line pa lang, today I've peacefully accepted that my life is unlike any other. So it plays to what you're saying about the sacrifice.
So that might might be addressed to the Filipino psyche na parang alam mo the drama, the Filipino psyche.
Yeah, I agree na kung yung content titingnan mo, and certainly pag binabasa mo ngayon, Ed, Regina, it sounds a lot better.
Okay.
But iba yung dating when she was delivering it. Di ba yun yung point? It actually reads better than it came across if you watch the video of it, which is a problematic thing para sa akin, di ba? Kung mas maganda pang basahin yung statement kaysa sa panoorin yung delivery nung kandidato o prospective na kandidato, baka mas mabuti, nirelease na lang yung as a statement. Di ba? I mean, I get what they were trying to go for here. I get yung substance was aiming for reluctance, was aiming for parang humility, was aiming for, kaya ako ginagawa ito because of some higher purpose rather than personal ko lang ambisyon o paghihigante or whatnot. Diba? But my beef with it is not yung laman. Ang beef ko yung the way it was delivered. and para sa akin, if I were part of her team, I would be concerned with yung delivery more than yung laman. Kasi yung laman, di naman siya nagsulat yun di ba? That's going to be the team. But ultimately, whatever words her team will come up with have to be delivered in a more convincing, less bloodless fashion, di ba? Than what we saw earlier.
Baka naman gusto niyang ma-contrast dun sa dati niyang video at mabura yung image.
Correct.
Na over-passionate naman yung dati niyang video, no? Di ba?
Sabi ko naman na...
dating niya doon, parang unhinged siya doon eh. She has to,
Agree naman ako,
she has to
agree naman
erase
ako, Ma'am
naman
Ami.
that image, di ba?
Agree naman ako, Ma'am Ami, pero sabi ko nga, may malaki namang espasyo between unhinged ako at para akong para akong sedated eh. Diba? And she came across as almost sedated, di ba? Dito sa...
Di ba presidensya yung
parang,
dating niya, di ba? Di ba
ganon?
presidensya
Hindi ka dating sa akin.
Barry, let's talk about the timing of it, no? Did it strike you as odd? We're more than 2 years out from the 2028 elections. And of course, as you said, everyone was expecting naman that she will run. But I guess the consensus was that we were expecting her to announce later in the year, February pa lang.
Yeah.
What were you thinking around that?
I think I can't help but speculate that it has something to do with the impeachment na magsisimula na sa House of Representatives probably by next week, given yung nangyari sa floor kanina. I think that that more than anything else, yung timing ngayon was deliberately chosen to serve as a reminder sa mga kongresista na, oy, baka in 2.5 years, ako na ang presidente nyo, ha? Kaya medyo mag-ingat-ingat kayo sa mga magiging actuations nyo dito sa impeachment. It's actually less about the votes. Kasi, the votes might come or they might not, depending on how things play out sa committee or sa House. But it's about sino yung magmamatapang at the committee level to actually push for, let's say, yung paglalabas ng ebidensya or yung paglalabas ng mga damaging na mga allegations against the Vice President in the same way na nangyari yan during the Quadcom hearings almost more than a year ago, diba? Late 2024 hanggang early 2025, just before she was actually impeached by the House. Kung maalala natin, nung panahon na yun, halos nagkakandara pa yung mga congressman para makaguhit diba? To make their points, to put on record yung mga iba't ibang mga ebidensya na gusto nilang introduce. I think more than anything else, yung pagpili ng declaration ngayon on the eve of when the House is supposed to do its committee hearings on the impeachment is intended precisely to baka naman intimidate is too strong a word,
To signal.
but to very firmly remind yung mga congressman of the political reality that they may be facing going into 2028.
And do you think it would work? Because on the other hand, it's the Philippines is not kind to early front runners. Time and time again, that's been proven. Na kung sino yung unang mag-declare na maaga, is always the one that gets often doesn't end up winning.
Unang nalalaglag.
Although, tingin ko kasi sa kaso ni VP Sara, gaya sinabi ko kanina, hindi naman surprise na I mean, everybody is expecting her to run for president kahit na hindi niya i-declare outwardly. So I think that in terms of ano yung mawawala sa kanila, by giving up the paano ba yun? The mystery kung tatakbo ba o hindi. I think na ano naman yun, very minimal. Siguro sa tingin nila dahil everybody's really expecting her to declare at some point. And the more immediate concern para sa kanila, if I was in their camp, would be ano ang lalabas dito sa impeachment proceedings at the level of the House. Ano yung mga ebidensya? Kasi we have to remember, dun sa huling impeachment, the public never got to see any of the evidence. Dahil sa House, dinaan sa 1/3 vote, express, diretso kaagad sa Senate. And in the Senate, dinribol ni Chis Escudero hanggang lumabas yung Supreme Court decision, so we never actually saw a trial. So this will be, if ever, the first opportunity whereby a lot of the substance of the allegations against her will actually be presented before the public. So if I were them, I would be most worried about that. Ano yung laman na yon? Will that be damaging? Will that affect yung aking standing? So very, very crucial na meron kang ganitong paalala to remind yung mga congressmen na, di ba, wag naman kayong masyadong aggressive dahil maaalala namin yung mga taong naging aggressive sa amin sa panahong ito when it's our turn 2 years from now. Or at least, I think that's the intention behind yung move na ito.
What about
Pero on the
opposition?
other hand, will that not strengthen the resolve of the pro-administration? Marami yung pro-administration na yan. It's still a super majority. Won't it strengthen their resolve na ituluyan nga siya at ipakita sa mga tao kung ano yung mga kasalanan niya?
Well, speaking as a former member of the House of Representatives, yung mga supermajority tend to be cobbled up from a variety of interests that tend to
Can change overnight,
Yes.
lapse as soon as there's a change in administration. So, yun precisely. I think she is addressing precisely those people in the current supermajority na 2.5 years from now, kung siya magiging presidente, might be in a rush na luminya sa labas ng kanyang pintuan, di ba? Para sila naman ang sasama sa kung ano man yung bubuuin niyang majority. And she's telling them now, kapag masyado kayong magulo ngayon, maaalala ko yan. Di ba? I think that's the whole point.
And then
She is playing to the rather fickle loyalties of people in Congress.
which we all know about. And then there's a wild card here, which is she could resign before the trial even gets underway, diba? So nag-declare na siya, then she resigns, then they don't have to see through
she can run.
the impeachment trial, and so she can still run.
Yeah.
Yes, that's definitely an option. And feeling ko, if in their estimation, the impeachment proceedings are not going to go their way, ibig sabihin, there's a real danger that she will be impeached in the House and then possibly convicted in the Senate. And yung Senate conviction, as you pointed out, will carry not only yung penalty of removal from her current office, but perpetual disqualification to hold any other public office. Then definitely, isang option nila yung pagbibitaw. Although I think na they will only take that kapag ora de peligro. Ibig sabihin yung klaro na mukhang matatalo tayo dito, and to preserve our shot at 2028, sige na, let's give up yung current position as Vice President. But I don't think they will do that unless they really, really have to. Yeah.
Ed.
Sir, what about the opposition? Does the opposition have to rethink anything in the next few weeks as a result of what happened today?
Well, the opposition, as it were, is already engaged in its own process to come up with a common unity candidate for 2028. If anything, tingin ko lang, ang nangyari with the announcement ni VP Sara is to I suppose emphasize yung urgency ng usapan kasi madami pang mga madami pang mga mahabang debate kung kailan ba dapat magkaroon ng final candidate. Some people are saying end of 2026, some people are saying okay lang hanggang 2027 and so on. I think na yung early declaration ni VP Sara will also act as a catalyst para mas bumilis yung proseso
Yeah,
yun. Kasi
more pressure.
malinaw na eh, 'di ba? Malinaw na
Oo.
yung malinaw, nagdeklara na yung yung magiging main na kalaban.
Oh, kasi magmumukhang
at this
nagkakagulo
point-
kayo kung hindi kayo maglabas kagad ng pangalan.
Exactly. So, and besides, with that declaration, she's technically free to start going around and already campaigning openly. Diba?
Teka
Yun
lang,
yung,
hindi pa
point.
open yung campaign
And you don't
period.
want to you don't want to lose that time as well, diba? So,
But you're saying the unification talks are ongoing na. Kasi noong 2022, sumemplang dyan yung mga anti-Duterte forces dahil hindi nag-unite eh. Ngayon,
totoo naman.
meron ba talaga?
And I think that
Solid ba?
precisely because of the experience in 2022, mas merong consciousness na kailangan mas maaga tayong magsimula ng ganito. And at the end of the day, we really have to find a common candidate given na yung undeniable lakas ng mga ni VP Sara Duterte doon sa polls at the moment. So definitely that's clear to everyone's mind. Yung experience na yon was definitely a learning experience. So I think na yun ang principal motivation for a lot
Pero
of
meron?
people to push this process. Yes,
Well,
yung process is
Meron
ongoing.
ba? Kasi ang nabasa namin, ang nakita namin ngayong istorya, yung away ni Bam sa away within the opposition.
Yeah.
Imbis na unification.
Well,
Away yung lumabas.
sa akin, ano yun eh, di ba? That speaks to yung character of the base
Oh.
ng peaks at ng mga dilaw, di ba? Na even yung base, may pagka nakita nila na yung mga kanilang mga leader may sinabi na hindi nila masyadong gusto, they have no qualms about making their displeasure known. And I think that's one of the differences doon sa dalawang base. So that's actually a reminder doon sa mga leader na ba kailangan maging mas maingat din kayo at mas aware kayo doon sa base natin at
Yeah.
and how they tend to react pag sa mga ganito mga bagay.
Speaking of common candidate, attorney, si Mayor Lenny, wala na ba talagang, is she fully out? Where's her headspace in this?
I haven't talked to her recently, so I can only base my answer on yung conversations that she has had with other people, prominent personalities, leaders nung movement. Kasama na dito sila Senator Kiko Pangilinan, si former Secretary Butch Abad, and so on. And all of them have said very clearly that as far as she's concerned, she prefers to stay in Naga. And apparently she's open to joining yung selection process as one of the conveners. Now, whether that means hindi na talaga siya tatakbo is something na no one can answer right now. Kasi madami pa naman pwede mangyari in the next year. Diba? But as of now, yun ang kanyang desisyon. At pag tinatanong ako ng mga tao, ang sinasabi ko lang, di ba, galangin naman natin yung agency ng tao. Di ba? Parang ilang beses niya sinabi yan eh. Hindi naman natin sinasabi na hindi magbabago isip niya because after all, it did in 2022. Pero, that's when that happens, that's a bridge we will cross when we get to it. But as of now, yun ang sinasabi niya. So let's take that as a given and let's proceed from there. Kung may ibang mangyayari in the next year, then, flexibility is part of the skill set that we need to adopt. Diba?
Okay.
And master.
Sige na nga, we'll take that answer for now. But thank you so much for talking to us and explaining all of that. Attorney Barry Gutierrez, former spokesperson to Vice President Leni Robredo.
Thank you,
Salamat,
sir.
Thanks, attorney.
Anytime. See you.
You are watching Storycon on One News. We just need to take a very quick break. We'll be right back. Please stay with us.
We've got developing news in the stories behind the headlines. Welcome back to Storycon, the Story Conference. I'm Edlin Gao.
And I'm Regina Lay, still with us. Ami Pamantuan of the Philippine Star.
Let's bring in Mojo Merimon Reyes, reporting to us live from the Senate. Merimon, anong reaction sa declaration ni VP Duterte that she's running for president in 2028?
Bok, ang nasabi dito yung Senate President Tito Soto, baka raw yung iba ang sagot dito, eto na raw yun, parang alam na raw dito ng lahat at hindi daw ito lingid sa kaalaman ng karamihan. Pero sabi dito ni SP Soto, wala raw siyang hawak na kristal na bola. So titingnan niya pa rin kung ano yung mangyayari come 2027 or by 2028 kapag ka nagkaroon na ng filing of candidacy. Especially na mukhang maaga para pa sa iba yung declaration kasi sila sabi nga raw pwedeng nababati kapag ka maaga yung deklarasyon ng pagtakbo, hindi ito nananalo pagdating na talaga ng halalan. Ang sabi naman dito ni Senator Risa Hontiveros na part ng United Opposition, hindi naman daw nito naaapektuhan yung timeline nila na by the end of the year o kaya naman first quarter of 2027, mapafinalize na nila yung common candidates nila. And same, hindi na babago yung requirements na hinahanap nila or yung parang yung criteria nila. Ito yung shared principles daw ng good governance, yung anti-corruption principle, yung nais na pagtibayan ang ekonomiya ng bansa, yung poprotektahan yung karapatan nito, maging yung soberanya nito. And pero from the minority, itong sina Senator Amy Marcos, naglabas ng pahayag na sinusuportahan niya at sinasabi niyang itong si VP Sara Duterte ang may solusyon daw at kabaliktaran daw siya ng kasulukuyang administrasyon ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos at pero kanina nung na-ambush interview siya ng media, ang nasabi rin ni Senator Amy, parang forever running mate niya raw itong si VP Sara Duterte, so maglakad daw, gumapang, tumakbo, pahiga, patayo, parang sunod-sunuran na raw talaga siya dito kay VP Sara. So natanong ng media kung siya ba ay open kung sakaling maging running mate talaga siya ni VP Sara Duterte by 2028. Ang sabi niya, hayaan daw muna si VP Sara Duterte na nag-anunsyo ng kanyang pangangandidato. Senator Robin Padilla, sinusuportahan niya rin itong si VP Sara Duterte. Nide-share niya rin yung statement ni Senator Amy Marcos kanina umaga. And Senator Bongo, ang sinasabi niya naman, buo yung kanyang suporta at ang yung sinasabi niyang tapat daw na administrasyong Duterte, ito raw yung dapat ipagpatuloy ni VP Sara Duterte.
Si Chis Escudero, kasi merong speculation na gusto rin niyang mag-VP kay Sara, kaya gano'n na nangyari dun sa impeachment eh.
So far, wala pa. Ito palang mga senador yung mga nakapanayam natin. Wala pang ibang statement from the other senators. Si Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, ang nasabi niya, kanya-kanya opinion daw yan. So, pero kung nakita raw ni VP Sara na ito yung right time para i-anunsyo or i-declare yung kanyang pagtakbo, respetuhin na lang daw yun. Senator Minority Leader Alan Peter Cayetano, ang sabi niya naman, maganda rin daw the earlier na magdeklara na ng planong pagtakbo para raw mahimay na yung mga potensyal na kandidato. Pero ang isa sa naging tanong din na dito sa mga senador is, what if umakyat na dito sa Senado yung impeachment complaint laban kay VP Sara Duterte and potentially one senator or two ay pwedeng maging opponent sa national elections? Ang sabi dito na SP Soto, na Senator Sherwin, na Senator Risa, at the end of the day, constitutional duty nila, tungkulin nila bilang senator judges ang mag-decide, ang pag-usapan at pagbotohan itong impeachment complaint na nakabase doon sa mga ebidensya na ipepresenta. So, ang sinasabi ni SP Soto, expected na magiging impartial ang mga senador, whether or not kandidato man daw ba o kahit na sinong may impeachment complaint na aangat o matatransmit dito sa Senado.
Actually, it goes both ways eh. Pwedeng isa o dalawa sa mga senador maging kalaban niya o isa o dalawa sa mga senador maging running mate niya. It can go either way.
Tama, Bo. And ang sabi dito,
eh.
and ang sabi din dito ni Senator Risa, siya nga raw, ngayon pa lang pinaghahandaan niya na yung possibility na magkaroon ng impeachment complaint na matransmit dito sa Senado, but still, walang kahit na anong possible agenda na yung kanilang pagharap doon sa impeachment complaint laban kay VP Sara ay may motibo para mag-strike off ng mga opponents. So wala naman daw ganon. What they will be doing ay yung constitutional duty nila. They will be basing yung their decisions nila doon sa ebidensya raw mismo. So walang ibang ulterior motives kung sakaling umakyat yung impeachment complaint dito sa Senado.
Di umano. Kasi,
Well,
You of little
Political
faith.
process eh. Impeachment is a political process.
It is very much so, correct.
di umano.
Kahit anong sabihin mo dyan. Kaya sabi
siguro-
ko, kahit sabihin nila ang pinopolitika, ano ngayon kung pinopolitika, yun ang dapat sagot doon eh.
Oh, it's a political
Diba?
process naman talaga.
Yeah.
Although the
Quasi-
Supreme Court also
Quasi-
said in the last decision that it's
Politicized,
political and judicial process as well.
Quasi-judicial. They're not judges. Okay.
Saka puro politiko involved dyan.
Oo.
Di
Sorry,
politiko yan.
we'll leave that there. Thank you so much.
Patanong isa pang ano, habol lang ako.
Sorry.
The
Sabi ng director.
The magic question,
Thank-
Bok, wala pa bang lalabas si Bam na paliwanag doon sa...
Mamaya daw, statement.
Oh, wala pa rin, wala pa
Mamaya,
rin.
oo.
Actually, Bok, wala pa. Kasi kanina nung sinalubong ng media for an ambush interview sana dito kay Senator Bam, ang sabi niya may statement daw siyang ilalabas tungkol doon na nagkaroon ng negative na remark or comment itong si former Senator Solly Trillanes. Tungkol kasi ito doon sa naging komento naman ni Senator Bam na dapat litisin sa bansa yung
Ideally,
mga kaso na may kinalaman sa EJK. Pero sabi niya kasi may statement daw siya. So pagka nagsalita raw kasi siya on cam, yun daw yung magiging statement. So until ngayon, inaabangan pa rin namin yung pinaka-official na pahayag ni Senator Bam tungkol dyan, Bok.
Okay, we'll wait for that.
What could the statement
And leave
be?
that there. Mobile journalist Marimon Reyes. Let me guess, I was taken out of context. Or the usual
May
statements.
nuancing siya, may nuancing.
Oh, may
Nuancing
Baka sabihin niya,
or
yun ang wish
layering.
ko lang,
Or
oo.
layering.
Pwede niya sabihin na yun ang ideal situation.
Okay.
Na dapat hindi na natin tayo magre-rely sa kung ako yun. Yan ang
Kasi you can also look
hindi
at
na tayo
it from that
magre-rely
point
sa
of view
foreign
din eh.
court.
Na,
We have to strengthen our
oo.
institutions para
Oo.
hindi na kailangan na ibigay sa ICC.
But we all know we are light years away from that, right? Talking
yun
about
ang
strengthening
problema.
institutions, hindi ba nakita natin from the flood control scandals how weak the institutions
Yeah,
are now?
exactly.
Yeah.
Which
Pero
we are
paano kung
still
yung sagot
seeing.
nga niya is ideally ganito, but that is why we have to respect what's happening now
Dapat
in the
dinagdag niya
ICC
kaagad,
because it's necessary. Paano kung gano'n ang
And the other
Dapat may
reason
dagdag
it's gone viral and it's become very significant.
Yeah,
is
that's
he
what
hardly
that's
says
exactly.
anything about he's hardly said anything about the issue in the past. Tapos biglang ito na yung
Then you have the
comment.
Trillanes
Then you have the
statement back.
Trillanes claiming that they never wanted Duterte to be taken to The Hague in the first place. Okay, let's get more reactions on Vice President Duterte's announcement, this time from the palace, where mobile journalist Julie Baiza is standing by. Julie, anong balita dyan?
Yes po, good luck. Yan daw yung mensahe ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos. Matapos nga yung anunsyo ni VP Sara.
Teka lang, Julie,
sabi
teka lang. What is the tone when he said that? Kasi the tone is everything here.
Gayahin mo naman.
Actually, hindi yun nga po yung tinanong
Hindi, si
namin
Claire
kayo
yung
si Castro.
nagsabi.
Like ano yung tono? Sincere ba ang Pangulo or paano yung pagkakasabi? Ang sabi lang niya, nakangiti raw si PBBM. Nakangiti raw nung sinabi yung good luck, pero hindi niya masasabi kung sincere or sarcastic ba yung tono.
Kasi
Basta daw
for example,
nakasmile.
may ibang dating ng good luck sa'yo.
Or good luck.
Iba
Or
yung
good
ganun
luck.
sa
I mean,
good luck. Iba yung ganun. It's in the intonation as
Good luck
well.
lang, Bok eh.
Okay, that's all he had to
Si
say
Claire
about
kasi
it.
sumagot eh.
The intonation matters.
Anong sagot dun sa may mahaba yung preliminaries na puro banat kay BBM. Wala bang reaction doon?
Yes. Actually, sinagot nga po niya isa-isa yung mga sinabi ni VP Sara. Una yung sinabi na humingi siya ng patawad dahil nga tinulungan daw ng mahalal. Ang sabi ni Yusek Claire, taong bayan daw ang naghalal kay Pangulong Marcos. At kung may naitulong man daw si VP Sara, wag daw suluhin yung credit kasi unity team naman daw po silang kumandidato.
Oo. Tama naman
Bukod
yan.
daw doon dapat marami daw ihingi ng tawad ng Vice Presidente. Hindi daw yung mga bagay na yan, kundi una, paghingi ng tawad para sa mga biktima ng extrajudicial killings, para daw po sa pagpapakalat ng fake news, pagbabakasyon, paggastos ng 7 million for her personal trip, at saka yung pagtanggap daw po ng posisyon at secretary ng DepEd, kahit na aminado daw siya na wala siyang alam doon sa posisyon. Isa-isa nga po ni Yusek Claire yung mga naging issue like the fake student vouchers, at sinabi pa niya yung mga panis, tsaka nabubulok na pagkain daw na dineliver sa mga mag-aaral, pati yung missing school materials. Yun daw po yung mga malalaking issue at problema na dapat nga ihingi ng tawad ng Vice Presidente.
Teka lang.
Isang punto pa po yung...
Sino ba nag-appoint sa kanya to education? Diba? And secondly, in order to travel out of the country, she needs the President's Malacanang's approval. So, sino ba nag-approve ng mga trips na yun?
Yung una pong punto, ang sinasabi ni Yusek Claire, bakit daw po tinanggap? Yung pagtanggap, kahit na aminadong walang alam doon sa posisyon. Hindi lang po yung DepEd, pero yun nga, yung umoo siya. Parang ganun yung pinupunto ng palas. Umoo ka knowing na hindi mo naman alam.
I think hiningi niya yun, di ba? In lieu of the defense portfolio. Kasi ang hinihingi niya noon was the
Yes.
defense.
Originally defense. Oo.
Kaya
Yes.
pinapili siya ng pupwestong iba. Ang pinagkasunduan, yung education. Yan.
Another thing pa po
Kaya-
na sinagot ni Yusek Claire kanina, yung sinabi niyan ni VP Sara na humingi siya ng pang-uumanhin sa mga Pilipinong lubog pa rin sa baha dahil sa korupsyon. Ang sabi po ni Yusek Claire, wag daw magmalinis kasi inisa-isa niya yung mga nangyaring pagbaha din nung previous administration. Meron daw around or more than 13,000 na flood control projects daw na hindi naman daw naramdaman. Kaya hindi daw dapat pwedeng ipahid lang kaya Pangulong Marcos yung mga pagbaha ngayon. Natanong na nga rin po kung bukas ba yung palasyo na makipag-usap na sa oposisyon. Ngayon lang nag-anunsyo na rin si VP Sara. No? Ang sabi naman po ng palasyo, hindi pa raw nila napapag-usapan yan. Wala pa sa ngayong talks. At ang sinasabi niya kanina, magkaiba raw yung politician at saka statesman. Si VP Sara, politician daw kasi ang iniisip, susunod na eleksyon. Si Pangulong Marcos, statesman daw kasi ang iniisip, susunod na henerasyon.
Wow. Okay.
Yan po.
Okay. Okay. Sige.
I
May
guess.
pabol, Ami?
I guess we'll leave that there.
Okay na,
because-
okay na.
Okay, Julie
Okay na.
Baizal, reporting live from Malacanang. Thanks for your updates.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you, Julie. Tinanong ko
Bakit
si
naman kasi
Risa
tinanggap,
kanina eh.
bakit tinanggap yung position kung hindi naman niya kaya?
Kaya.
I mean, how do... bakit mo in-offer
maganda din.
to begin with?
Saan ko ba ito galing?
I'm just
Hindi,
saying,
yun
now
naman yun. Ang hinihingi kasi yung defense.
Hindi, we know that she wanted defense naman talaga. Pero now kasi, they're pointing fingers at each other na, Claire
Don't you
Castro.
just like it when they fight, ano?
Yeah, it's so, oh my gosh. It's, Claire Castro saying na, bakit tinanggap ni VP Duterte kung hindi naman pala niya kaya? Well, in the first place, who offered it to her? Who gave that portfolio to her, right? And then yun nga, with the trips abroad, all of these trips need Malacanang's approval, di ba? Remember we asked them about it last time, about all the many trips that Vice President Duterte took. Naalala mo yun when Yusek Castro was here? We asked her about the trips. Kasi ang dami na at that point eh. She was traveling to Europe, traveling to Middle East, Australia, talking to OFWs. If I remember correctly, ang sagot niya back then was, well, if hindi namin i-approve, sabihin na...
No, they're curtailing her right to
something like that.
to travel or to
And
travel.
anything talaga can be weaponized against you, you know. Okay, with that, let's head on over to the House of Representatives. News 5's Marian Enriquez is there for us. Maan, anong nangyayari dyan?
Nako, may mga reaksyon itong mga kongresista dito nga sa maagang pag-anunsyo ni Vice President Sara Duterte ng kanyang pagtakbo bilang Pangulo sa 2028 elections. No? Napakakalkulado raw ng timing at mukhang ang layon manakot daw ng mga kongresista. Yan nga yung puna ni Acting Teachers Party List Representative Antonio Tino. Nakapagtataka raw kasi ng napakaagang pag-anunsyo ng bise. Sakto pa raw talaga no, bago nga talakayin dito sa Kamara yung mga nakabinding impeachment complaints laban sa kanya. Pero nanindigan yung makabayang block na dapat sagutin ng bise kung paano nga niya winaldas umano yung nasa 612 million pesos na pondo ng taong bayan. Malakas daw yung kanilang ebidensya at laman ng mga impeachment complaint laban sa bise at kumpiyansa sila na kung boboto ng naayon sa konsensa yung mga kongresista matutuloy hanggang impeachment trial yung reklamo sa bise. Wag na raw sana magpabudol ang publiko sa mga Duterte. At ayun nga, giit nga ni ML Party List Representative Leila de Lima, hindi na siya nagulat dun sa anunsyo ng bise. Karapatan daw niya magdeklara kahit napakaaga tulad ng karapatan ng mga Pilipino na singilin sa mga seryosong alegasyon ng katiwalian at paglabag sa batas. Mas maganda raw na harapin muna ni VP Sara at sagutin yung mga ito bago nga mag-ambisyong maging Pangulo. Samantala si Akbay Party List Representative Percy Sandanya ay sinabing ginagamit ni VP Sara yung pagtakbo bilang presidente para palusot sa pagpapanagot nga sa kanya ng taong bayan. Aminado naman si Senior Deputy Majority Leader Lawrence Defensor na posibleng ang makaapekto itong anunsyo ni VP Sara sa kung paano boboto yung mga kongresista sa pagpapa-impeach sa kanya. Ang malinaw sa ngayon, magtutuloy ang proseso at hinihintay na lamang na ma-refer nga yung 3 reklamo sa House Committee on Justice para maumpisahan na yung paggulong ng impeachment laban kay VP Sara dito sa Kamara. Dating naging House Prosecutor itong si Defensor noong nakaraang taon sa impeachment ni VP Sara at bukas pa rin daw siya sakaling ang alokin muli maging prosecutor kung uusad itong paglilitis kay VP Sara. At Jiggy ay Bok, Reg, and Ami, may ugong na ika-4 pang ang impeachment complaint na ihahain laban kay VP Sara. Pero yan yung inaabangan pa nga natin, may hanggang March 2 na lang si Speaker Boji para maikama sa order of business yung impeachment complaints laban kay VP Sara. At kinayak nga ni Defensor na walang magiging delay dun sa pag-refer nito sa House Committee on Justice. Balik sa inyo.
Si Maan, sa daming hits today, nalito na. This is you're on story.
Mamaya pa si Jiggy.
Mamaya pa si Jiggy. You're on Storycon. But Maan, the impeachment complaint has not been referred to the Justice Committee. May timeline na ba to? Because we spoke to, who was it? Congressman Bel Zamora. I think that was last week. Well, she said should have been sometime this week, no? Yung pag-refer to the Justice Committee.
Yes, Reg, inaasahan nga natin. Supposedly, ngayong araw, and a lot of lawmakers were saying they're expecting na mai-refer nga ito ngayong hapon, ngayong session sa House Committee on Justice. Pero ang nakwento ni SDML Defensor kanina, walang mangyayaring referral ngayong hapon. Yan yung sigurado. So when we ask kailan ba, hindi pa niya masabi, walang definitive answer na binigay si Defensor. Pero what he said was meron silang hanggang March 2 para nga ma-refer or mailatag sa order of business itong mga reklamo. Kasi yun yung pang 10th session day, kumbaga.
Itong delay...
Bakit daw hindi nahain ngayong araw?
Oo nga, exactly.
Bakit hindi natuloy? Kasi baka sabihin ng mga tao na intimidate pala kayo.
Oo, does it have anything to do with Vice President
We
Duterte's
also
announcement?
asked anong reasons. Wala namang mabigay na rason itong si SDML dahil base pa rin yung kay Speaker Boji, kasi nasa opisina niya yung mga reklamo. So, hindi niya masabi kung anong dahilan, pero ang sinabi lang niya, mahaba-haba pa naman. Meron pang hanggang March 2 si Speaker Boji para nga mailatag ito sa order of business. So, may mga 2 weeks pa, kumbaga. Kasi ang isang session day, 1 calendar day na lang yan, 3 araw lang naman ang merong session sa isang week. Kahapon, nung Monday, wala pong pasok, walang session day. So, mahaba-haba pa.
Yeah, but it's curious that it was suddenly postponed yung pag-refer sa Justice Committee.
We're all curious actually, kaya nga hindi tuloy mapigilan yung mag-isip din na meron pa bang hihintay na impeachment complaint. Ang tanong ngayon, ano yung impeachment complaint na hihintay?
Yes.
Is it just another complaint na regular na idadaan sa Committee on Justice, o baka ito yung fast track mode na 1/3 na hindi natin alam.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes,
Because that has to be done, if at all, before referral.
Sorry, Bok.
Yes.
You were saying?
Because if you do the fast track method, I think it has to be done before anything is referred to the Committee on Justice.
So baka magka-vote bukas.
Tama ka dyan.
Otherwise,
Yung 1/3 vote. Kaya lang, with all the other House of Representatives members we've spoken to in the previous weeks, parang they all say parang the numbers are certainly not going to be what they were last year. Parang there's less support this year for
Pero
impeachment.
ang dami-dami nun eh. Kahit hatiin mo yun, aabot ka pa rin ng 1/3 ngayon.
Sa bagay,
More
Actually,
than
madaling
2/3
1/3 sa Congress.
113 is the magic number, correct? 114.
Ano ba talaga yung magic number? Yung 1/3? Nagugulo ako sa bilang ng mga tao ngayon dyan eh.
105, no? 105. 1/3.
Oh, lumit
Ang huli
pa nga
natin
eh.
bilang, ang huli natin bilang 105. So at least 105 pag na-meet yung bilang na yon, meron ka ng 1/3. Maalala ninyo, ilan ba yung bumoto? Sabihin na natin ng impeachment ni BBM last
2/3 last year.
binasura yung impeachment, 284 ang nagbasura. Ganun yung sumusuporta kay Bongbong. Yes. And yung pumirma noong 2025 election sa pinangunahan pa ni Majority Leader Sandro Marcos, naalala ninyo, yung impeachment na transmit sa Senado, ang official number 215. Pero naalala ninyo, marami pang pumirma even after that. So more than 215 ang nagpa-impeach kay VP Sara noong last year.
Pero Bok, just to be clear, magkaibang bagay yung the refusal to go against the president is not the same as a willingness to go against the vice president.
Yes,
I
actually,
just say that kasi, for
rin.
example,
Tama ka naman
I just say that kasi, for example, yung the 284 who decided to vote against the impeachment of the president, impeachment of the president, that does not necessarily translate to 284 people who are willing to
impeach the vice president because they had to, they had to evaluate it on substance and form as well. Yung form pumasa naman.
Kailangan basahin.
Gusto sabihin ni Ed. Sige na, sabihin mo na.
Ang sinasabi ko lang, yung isa kasi mas active, yung isa mas passive. So, yung isa
you don't believe
mas confrontational, yung isa iwas puso.
So forget about the substance of the impeachment complaint.
I never said that. I just implied heavily.
Depende lang sa possibility of getting it passed. Ganon. Yun yung political calculation. Okay, we'll leave that there. Thank you so much for your reporting. That was Marian Enriquez reporting to us live from the lower house. Salamat, Marian.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Marian.
Okay, we're on until 5:30, of course. Storycon, we will be right back after a quick break, so please stay tuned.
Okay, welcome back to Storycon. This is the last stretch of the program. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Edwin Gao, and of course with us, Ami Pamituan of the Philippine Star. And also joining us this afternoon is former presidential spokesman Harry Roque. Sir, magandang hapon and thank you for joining us today.
Magandang hapon at karangalan mo po.
Okay.
First things first, where are you, attorney?
I'm in Austria, Vienna, Austria.
Oh, so bumalik na po kayo doon?
Yes.
Because your asylum application is being handled there, correct?
Yes, it is. According to the Dublin rules, since Vienna, Austria issued my visa, it is Vienna, Austria that must process my asylum application.
Has there been any update on the status of your application?
Well, it's still pending. I had my initial interview. They tell me that there's going to be a second interview.
So, initial interview na po kayo. And then after the second interview, is that it? That's done?
Yes, there's going to be a decision.
And
How
what's
soon
the
is that
timetable, sir?
kaya, attorney?
Ano po, Ma'am Ami? Again?
How soon kaya yon yung timeline niyan? Normally?
Well, they told me that there's going to be a second interview pa, no? So I don't think any decision is forthcoming in the near future until after the second interview.
Pero your passport has been canceled, no?
I don't think so. I just confirmed that my passport is still valid because I filed a motion for reconsideration, no? That I cannot be a fugitive from justice given that I have invoked my right to seek asylum, and it's in the UDHR, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, that everyone has a right to seek asylum.
So you're free to move around Europe sa ngayon?
I'm free
Or
to move
anywhere
around.
else?
Yes. And even the red alert notice, no? They attempted, but I think I frustrated them. I got an answer from the Interpol that they have accepted my petition to delist me on the basis that as an asylum seeker, EU regulations prohibit that I be put in the alert notice.
I know that you filed an opposition to that Interpol red notice, but when you say it was accepted, does that mean they merely accepted the opposition, or they decided, okay, you're right? Which one is it?
They accepted the opposition and asked that I submit English translations of proof that I have sought asylum in both the Netherlands and in Austria.
Okay, so pending a decision pa doon. They haven't decided on it.
But so far, I have confirmed, I have conferred regularly with Austrian authorities that I have not in the red alert notice.
So that's already formal, sir? That's already formal that you are already delisted from the red notice?
I don't know if I'm delisted, but I can confirm I am not in the red alert notice.
Hindi pa yata. I think the Interpol still has to decide on the opposition. That's why he's being asked to submit an English translation of his documents.
No, but as I said, I have conferred with the Austrian police, and they have told me that I am not in the red alert notice.
Attorney, you're monitoring, of course, what's happening dun sa trial ni former President Duterte, no? Anong tingin mo sa latest developments?
Well, of course, we're sad, no? Because the president has spent almost a year behind bars at wala pang finding na may probable cause. Because alam naman natin na ang pagkakaiba sa ICC is that the determination of probable cause, dito pa lang yan sa confirmation of charges. Sa Pilipinas, hindi dapat makulong si Tatay Digong nang wala pang probable cause, no? Dito sa ICC kasi, good grounds lang ang basis for warrant of arrest. At ang malungkot, ang pagbalanse doon sa mababaw na ebidensyang hinihingi para sa warrant of arrest yung dapat yung tinatawag na interim release na pinagkait din kay Tatay Digong. So naging biktima si Tatay Digong for all intents and purposes ng arbitrary arrest dahil nga binabalanse yan na ICC. Merong warrant of arrest pero dapat merong interim release. Pero dito, wala pang probable cause, wala ring interim release.
Any chance of you joining the legal team?
Well, you know, I will announce for the first time that actually it was the prosecutor that objected to my entry as a member of the legal defense team. No? At that time, they were saying that I was facing a warrant of arrest, and I clarified that it wasn't a warrant of arrest, it was a congressional contempt order. No? But in any case, I did not want that the very first salvo for the hearing of Tatay Digong would be centered on me, and therefore I deferred really, no, to the decision of the family na ayusin ko muna yung aking asylum. But for the first time, I'm announcing that really it was really the prosecutor that objected to my entry of appearance. No? They have sent a formal communication that they would object, and we did not want that the very first controversy on Tatay's case would be on my entry as legal counsel.
So,
Sir,
so it was the prosecutor and not Vice President Sara Duterte who kept you out of the legal team. Was this the old prosecutor, Karim Khan, or the new one?
Yes, it was Karim Khan.
Okay.
Go ahead. Pero sir, does it come as a surprise to you that yung determination of probable cause only comes at this particular point with the confirmation of charges? Kasi that's the impression I got kanina na parang well, we had to accept it reluctantly because that's the way it is. With the ICC. But we knew from the very start when we joined the Rome Statute, signed on the Rome Statute, I suppose, not unless things have changed since then.
Well, alam nyo, it wasn't a surprise because that's what's provided in the Rome Statute. What is surprising is that the ICC deviated from the practice of other international tribunals, such as the Tribunal for the Former Yugoslavia and the Rwanda Tribunal. In those two earlier tribunals, it was almost automatic that anyone issued the warrant of arrest is given an interim release, no? Because in the first place, mababaw nga yung ebidensya in order to issue a warrant of arrest. So to be fair and to respect the right of the accused to presumption of innocence and the right to liberty, the earlier tribunals almost always granted interim release. So dito lang talaga sa ICC na nabago yung practice na maski mababaw ang ebidensya for warrant of arrest, pinagkait ang interim release. And in fairness, it's not just Tatay Digong, it's all other accused of court crimes that the ICC has refused to issue interim release.
Pero sir, for example, in the case of Slobodan Milosevic, was he also given interim release after the warrant was issued against him?
But that's why I said almost always, because not everyone. But
Parang
Milosevic died in jail. He was also not given an interim release, but almost everyone else was given interim release.
I mean, they've already explained before that the bar for interim release, if it's crimes against humanity, is very, very high. There are very specific grounds for that.
No, I don't think so, because it was intended to achieve some sort of fairness, no? That it would enable international tribunals to proceed because they would have jurisdiction over the person of the accused, but at the same time, because there still was not probable cause, then they should be given interim release.
Okay, sir. Well, baka sir, you have numbers. Baka you have numbers to tell us. For example, kasi you did say na most of the other tribunals have in the past almost always given interim releases to the other accused.
Yes.
I don't think that's not what the other...
That's a fact, no? And I can come up with numbers, it's just that I don't have it now, no? But I have reviewed, and it's almost always that they gave interim release. And I'm a member also of the Rwanda Tribunal. It was almost all of them accused of genocide in Rwanda. they were allowed to go home to Rwanda, and they were only expected to attend the hearings whenever there was notice to them.
Were they the same charges of crimes against humanity?
Well, in the case of Rwanda, it was worse. It was for genocide.
Because I think the other ICC, the other lawyers that we've spoken to that know the ins and outs of the ICC say that yun nga, it's a very high bar because it's crimes against humanity. And
That's what I said earlier. No, the ICC has deviated from the practice of earlier international tribunals, because in the earlier international tribunals on Yugoslavia, Rwanda, they were almost always given interim release, but not in the ICC.
Okay, sir. It'll be interesting to see the numbers, sir, when you have them. Kasi a quick and dirty search lang, of course, it doesn't give me numbers as well, says that it's relatively uncommon to be granted interim release by international tribunals. Of course, no numbers here.
No,
so
in the ICC. That's
why
really the
it'll be good
practice
to
in
see
the
the numbers.
ICC.
Okay.
But yun nga, we don't think, we have not heard of any cases where the accused has been granted interim release if it's a very serious charge of, for instance, high crimes against humanity. But let's move on.
I'm not surprised because we're not studying the matter.
We're not studying the matter. We are studying the matter.
No, I'm not surprised that you don't know about the incidents of interim release as issued by Yugoslavia and Rwanda tribunals.
Sir, the interim release was very rare in the case of Rwanda. The judges generally considered the flight risk too high.
That's not true. As a matter of practice and as a matter of fairness, because of the very low threshold of evidence in the earlier tribunals, I can speak with authority that almost always they granted interim release. It's only here in the ICC now that they have not been following this practice, which, of course, raises the question of fairness, because we all know that good grounds is a very low threshold of evidence.
I don't think they've deviated only now. I think it's been the practice even before. As I said, we've spoken to a lot of ICC related lawyers on this, and they have said, even in the past, I know what you're trying to say.
You're insisting on ICC practice, and I have conceded in the ICC, it has not been the practice. What I'm saying is in the earlier tribunals, and of course, the precursor for the rules of the ICC are the earlier tribunals, it was almost given, always given.
Anyway, I think we will need to see the data on that.
Exactly, and we'll speak to the ICC about it. But in any case, let's move on. The ICC also announced co-perpetrators in Duterte's case on the war on drugs. What did you think about it?
I thought it was unfair because, number one, the ICC had only recently come up with a rule that the service of warrants of arrest will be treated confidentially. No? And number two, there is still a decision forthcoming from the appellate chamber on the issue of jurisdiction. Now, when the issue of jurisdiction first reached the ICC, the voting was 3-2. 3 judges said the court had jurisdiction, 2 judges said there was no more jurisdiction. Now, the issue from jurisdiction, while pending, the parties have submitted their respective observations, but the court asked both parties to submit additional observations, indicating that the court is seriously examining the issue of jurisdiction. No? And I thought it was unfair that the ICC itself breached the rule of confidentiality on warrants of arrest by announcing the co-perpetrators as if to preempt the appellate chamber's decision on whether or not there is in fact jurisdiction. So I think the more prudent thing to do was to honor the confidentiality rule until after the appellate chamber has ruled on the issue of jurisdiction.
To be clear, there are no arrest warrants yet. They were just named as co-perpetrators. We don't even know if there will be arrest warrants at this stage.
It goes without saying that, you know, as the lawyer for President Duterte has said, no, they themselves have known all along who these co-perpetrators are, but because of the confidentiality, they have kept it to themselves, no, and they're surprised that it is the ICC itself that broke the rule on confidentiality.
Normally, kapag nag-issue na ng ganyang list of co-perpetrators accused, can we expect arrest warrants from the
Yes,
ICC?
I think so, because as I said, the threshold for arrest warrant is very low, only good grounds.
Yes.
Yes. And I think the issue of the confidentiality has to do with the cooperation of states, because the ICC does not have their own police force. They will have to rely on cooperation of states, and that's why they have this rule now on confidentiality.
O sige. Kumustahin ko naman yung yung cases in the Philippines. Attorney, kumusta na yon? How are they moving along?
Well, I have a pending petition for review with the Secretary of Justice, which is a prerequisite for judicial review, no? And this is on the finding of probable cause. So after the DOJ panel of prosecutors ruled that there's a probable cause and that there's likelihood of successful prosecution, I filed an appeal with the Prosecutor General, which denied the appeal. And the final step for administrative exhaustion of administrative remedy is the petition for review with the Secretary of Justice, which has been pending forever and ever in the Office of the Secretary of Justice.
Kung sakasakaling if we request an extradition, we cannot request your extradition while your amnesty petition is pending,
Well, they cannot. They can attempt to request extradition, but in the first place, there's no extradition treaty between the Philippines and Austria. So there's no basis to request for extradition. No? Now, what they can hope for is the red alert notice, but EU, the EU is very specific that when a person has an application for asylum, then a red alert notice is not a basis for extradition. It's a decided doctrine.
Is that the non-refoulement principle which you have mentioned in the past?
Yes, it's a non-refoulement principle and a rule of the EU as far as Interpol is concerned.
Oh, by the way, sino nagsabi sa atin that the pronunciation pala was non-refuma because it's
non-refuma? Yes, it is non-refuma.
Okay, but isn't that the core principle? It's a core principle for international human rights and refugee law, but isn't that only based on political persecution? The government is arguing that you are facing criminal charges, not political persecution.
That's a decision to be made by Austrian authorities, because I believe and I submit that I'm a victim of unjust prosecution, because there's absolutely no evidence indicating that I was involved in human trafficking. None of the elements have been shown in the resolution of the public prosecutors. There's not even a complainant against me for human trafficking.
Okay. Cambio naman ako ng
Go ahead.
Sige.
Go ahead.
Cambio ako sa lokal na balita. I'm sure you've heard about VP Sara and her announcement. You did post something on social media kanina. Any idea kung bakit ganito yung timing ni VP Sara for her announcement?
Well, okay, I will be very clear. I have not had the occasion to talk to VP Sara since the announcement. But I'm sure this has to do with the impeachment. Magkakalinawan na tayo kung sino talaga ang pwedeng pagkatiwalaan ni VP Sara. We all know na walang kahit sino, if elections were to be held today, that can defeat Inday Sara in an honest-to-goodness elections. No? So I think the decision to declare her candidacy now is to give notice to members of Congress and the Senate that she will be a contender for the 2028 elections and that they better watch out. No? Because kung as usual, sila ay boboto because binili ang kanilang mga boto, think again, because this woman will almost certainly become president if honest elections are to be held.
So, I understand what you're saying na kung binili ang boto, this is a reminder to you. But at the same time, the other side of the coin seems to sound like, watch out, kasi kung manalo ito, patay kayong lahat. Babawian kayo.
Time.
That's also how it sounds.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that because that's politics. We all know na may mga malalakas na kandidato, may mga mahihinang kandidato, at kung sila ay magpapabili ng kanilang mga boto, think again because the politician's concern is always staying in office, and when you're enemy of the soon-to-be president, that's not good politics.
You said you haven't spoken to her since the announcement, but when was the last time you spoke to her, and are you going to be part of this, her team?
Well, I don't know how I can be part of active campaigning in the Philippines while I'm still here, but I certainly still have a voice, and I've been endorsing Sara Duterte to be the alternative to Marcos, whether be it for 2028 or even now.
Wala ka bang balak bumalik in the Philippines? Kasi yun ang sinasabi
I'm awaiting,
kanya,
actually.
you should face the charges.
Ami, I am facing the charges because of the petition for review. I am complying with the exhaustion of administrative remedies, and I will avail of judicial remedies, assuming, of course, the Secretary of Justice finally acts on the petition for review.
The government says you are a fugitive of justice and also a fake news peddler, especially off the back of what you posted recently, suggesting that President Marcos is seriously ill and that he had a colostomy bag.
First, I am not a fugitive from justice. I am an asylum seeker, which is recognized as a fundamental human rights, particularly in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Secondly, I never claimed that the president was seriously ill. I merely asked the question, ano ba itong bag na nakikita ko na nasa loob ng barong ni Marcos Jr., no? Is it a colostomy bag? Because the last time I saw a colostomy bag, it was then Mayor Osmeña of Cebu City that had it, no? And it looked very similar to what Mayor Osmeña had. So mine was an honest-to-goodness question because in the Constitution, it states that the people have a right to information, particularly when the president has a serious illness. So it was in fact a question and an appeal to Anteclair to tell the truth kung ano ba yung mukhang colostomy bag na nasa loob ng barong ni Marcos Jr. I don't think that is fake news. It's an honest-to-goodness question and the people deserve an honest answer.
But it wasn't a colostomy bag. And the fact that I mean, you're a lawyer, so you know this. Insinuating something is just as bad, right? There's malice in there.
No, I wasn't insinuating. It was a straightforward question. There was a question mark. And in fact, I even said, I'm asking Anteclair.
Okay, we want to talk about this more, but we've run out of time. But thanks for joining us and talking to us today, former presidential spokesperson, Attorney Harry Roque.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, attorney.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Well, kanina kasi we were going nowhere with the discussion on how
Interim
many
release.
percent. No, how many on how many cases kasi Harry was saying almost all the accused.
Now he's talking about a previous tribunal before the ICC.
Yugoslavia and Rwanda
Pero hindi ko alam
specifically.
kung tama siya doon.
Yeah, that's why I was asking for data. But I was looking to some stuff I dug up. Dun sa International Tribunal on Rwanda, 2% ang nabigyan ng interim release. Sa
Mga 2% out of how many people?
93. 93 were indicted. Dun sa Yugoslavia, the International Tribunal on Yugoslavia, I saw the number kanina 100 something, teka ha, 100, nawala. 167 ang nakita ko kanina sa Yugoslavia.
Ilan ang
mga 20% daw, 20 to 25%
Ilan
were
Of 30% being granted interim
Interim
release.
release.
Okay, so the first one was 8%.
No, 2%.
2%. The second one, sa Rwanda, is about
20 to 25%.
20-25%. Still a low percentage.
It's far from almost all.
Yes, correct.
Hindi siya almost all.
I don't know if we
Legal
have.
part.
Do we have Attorney Harry still on the line? Baka we can correct this on the record now. That's what I'm saying. The international. It doesn't.
That's why I was asking for data. Kasi he was saying
correct.
almost all.
I mean, international court has always international criminal justice. Has generally leaned towards detention pending trial, precisely because the crimes are so serious.
And to avoid
So I don't know.
bakit,
I don't know which data he was talking about. Pero it didn't sound right to me. Kasi sinabi na sa atin yan many times before that the bar for interim release is very, very high.
pretty
So
high.
I'm not sure. So kanina, remember we were pushing back a little bit and he was contesting our knowledge. So I don't know what set of data he was looking at there. But
yeah, that's why in the end, if you could give us the data that you have.
the general tendency is really towards detention pending trial.
Sorry, Yugoslavia indicted 161 people. Of them, 20 to 30% pala were granted interim release of 161.
Marami-rami rin siya.
Well, one out of three at the most.
At not almost all, hindi. Hindi siya almost
And
all.
Rwanda, which he also cited as one of those na almost all ang binibigyan interim release, 2%.
And by the way, what is the
That's
timeline for that?
malayo-layo yun.
Because that might have been the case in the early aughts, but certainly it's not been the case recently. Diba?
Wala na kasi itong mga to These tribunals expired. Like in Rwanda, it expired I think in 2015.
Matagal na yan,
Oh, exactly. So back then, that may have been the norm. Pero again, if Attorney Roque would like to come back and debate us on this, he's very welcome to. But that is all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining Storycon. I'm Ipo Pintuan, Editor-in-Chief of the Philippine Star. Join us again tomorrow, 4 p.m. for Storycon. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Ed Lingao, kapatid. We are One News, all sides, all the time.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.